My name is Chloe, and at 31 years old, I thought I understood what betrayal looked like. I thought I knew the difference between love and lies. 6 years of marriage had taught me to trust, to forgive, to believe in second chances. But on one cold October night, everything I thought I knew shattered along with the bones in my left leg. That was the night my husband broke me literally and figuratively because I dared to confront the woman he was sleeping with. That was the night he stood over me laughing while I cried in agony. And that was the night I made a phone call that would destroy his entire world before the sun came up. Before I tell you what happened that night, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what comes next will show you how quickly love can turn into something unrecognizable. I need to take you back to understand how I got there. Back to when life felt normal, safe even. I was an interior designer for a boutique firm in Portland, Oregon. Nothing fancy, but I loved what I did. Walking into empty spaces and imagining how they could become homes, how colors and textures could make people feel something, that was my passion. I would spend hours sketching designs, visiting showrooms, meeting with clients who trusted me to create their dream spaces. The work fulfilled me in ways I cannot fully explain. But my story does not start with my career. It starts with my family, or what was left of it. My mother passed away when I was just 12 years old. Cancer took her in 8 brutal months, and suddenly it was just me and my father, Thomas. Losing her changed both of us. Dad threw himself into his work building his real estate empire, while I learned to navigate grief in my own quiet way. But we never drifted apart. If anything, losing Mom made us closer. Dad became not just my father, my protector, my advisor, my anchor. Thomas was the kind of man people respected without him having to demand it. He was in his early 60s now, still sharp as ever with silver hair and these piercing blue eyes that could read a room in seconds. He built his wealth from nothing, starting with a single rental property in his 20s and growing it into one of the most successful real estate investment companies in the Pacific Northwest. People knew his name. People owed him favors. And more importantly, people did not cross him. I met Derek 7 years ago at an art gallery opening downtown. I remember the exact moment our eyes met across the room. He was looking at the same abstract painting I had been studying, and when he smiled at me, I felt something shift. He was handsome in that effortless way, tall with dark hair and green eyes that crinkled when he laughed. We talked for 3 hours that night about art and music and dreams. He told me he worked in commercial real estate, that he wanted to make his mark in the industry. I told him about my designs, about wanting to create spaces where people felt at home. Derek pursued me with such intensity. Flowers delivered to my office, handwritten notes, surprise dates to restaurants I had mentioned wanting to try. It felt like something out of a romance novel. Within a year, he proposed during a weekend trip to the coast. We stood on the beach at sunset, and when he dropped to one knee, I did not hesitate. I said yes. I believed I had found my person. We got married in a small ceremony 6 years ago. Nothing extravagant, just close friends and family. Dad walked me down the aisle, and I remember seeing something flicker across his face when he handed me over to Derek. Later, he would tell me he had reservations, that something about Derek felt too polished, too rehearsed. But he respected my choice. He gave his blessing because he loved me and wanted me to be happy. Looking back, I wish I had paid more attention to that moment of doubt in his eyes. The first 3 years of our marriage were genuinely happy. We bought a small house in the suburbs with a backyard I immediately started planning to transform. Derek was doing well at his firm, closing deals and building his reputation. We had date nights every Friday, trips to wine country on weekends, and long conversations about our future. We talked about having children, about growing old together, about all the dreams that young married couples share. But somewhere around year 4, things began to shift. It was subtle at first, so gradual, I told myself I was imagining things. Derek started working later, coming home at 9 or 10 at night instead of 6. When I asked about his day, his answers became vague. He was on his phone constantly, but would flip it face down whenever I walked into the room. In bed, He turned away from me more often than not, claiming exhaustion from work stress. Then came the night I smelled perfume on his collar. Not my perfume, something floral and expensive that I had never worn. My stomach dropped when I caught the scent while hugging him goodbye one morning. When I asked about it, Derek laughed it off. He said it must have been from a female colleague who hugged him after closing a big deal. His explanation was smooth, confident. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. So I pushed down the sick feeling in my gut and chose trust over suspicion. That was my first mistake. Red flags are called red flags for a reason. They are warning signs that something is wrong. But love makes us blind. Or maybe it just makes us cowards, too afraid to face a truth that might destroy everything we have built. The day I discovered the truth started like any other Saturday. Derek had gotten up early saying he needed to go into the office for a few hours to finish paperwork. Nothing unusual. I made coffee plan to work on some design sketches for a new client. The morning sun was streaming through our kitchen windows, and I remember feeling content, domestic safe in my routine. Derek came downstairs already dressed, grabbing his keys from the counter. He kissed my forehead absently, the kind of kiss that held no real affection, just habit. As he turned to leave, his phone buzzed on the kitchen table. He had forgotten it in his rush to grab his coffee. The screen lit up with a text notification. I was not trying to snoop. I swear I was not that person. But the phone was right there face up, and the message preview was impossible to miss. It was from someone named Amber. The text read, "Missing you already. Last night was amazing. Cannot wait to see you later." Time stopped. I stared at those words, reading them over and over, trying to make them mean something else. Anything else. My hands started shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Derek was still upstairs. I could hear the shower running. He must have decided to shower before leaving after all. I picked up his phone. My fingers moved before my brain could stop them. I knew his passcode because we had always been open about that kind of thing. At least I thought we had been open. The phone unlocked, and I opened the message thread with Amber. What I found destroyed me. Hundreds of messages going back 8 months. 8 months. Photographs of them together at restaurants I did not recognize, in hotel rooms, smiling and intimate in ways that made me physically ill. Messages that were explicit romantic, filled with inside jokes and pet names. He called her baby. He told her she was beautiful. He said things to her that he had not said to me in over a year. I scrolled and scrolled, each message another knife in my chest. There were plans to meet up, complaints about his wife who did not understand him, promises about a future together. Amber sent him photos I could not bear to look at for more than a second. And Derek responded with enthusiasm, with desire, with everything he had stopped giving me. My legs gave out. I sank down onto the kitchen floor, still clutching his phone. I do not know how long I sat there. Minutes maybe. Hours possibly. Time had lost all meaning. The shower turned off upstairs. I heard Derek moving around in our bedroom. And suddenly he was coming down the stairs whistling. Actually whistling like he did not have a care in the world. He saw me on the floor with his phone. His face changed instantly. The easy smile vanished, replaced by something cold and defensive. He did not rush over to help me up. He did not ask if I was okay. His first words were, "What are you doing with my phone?" Not an apology, not an explanation, just accusation. I looked up at him, this man I had married, this stranger wearing my husband's face. "Who is Amber?" My voice did not sound like my own. It was hollow, distant. Derek's jaw tightened. He walked over and grabbed the phone from my hands, not gently. "You had no right to go through my private messages. That is a violation of my privacy, Chloe." I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Privacy. As if privacy mattered more than fidelity, more than the vows we took 6 years ago. "You are sleeping with someone else." It was not a question. It was a statement of fact, though saying it out loud made it feel more real, more devastating. It is not what you think. The classic line. The line every cheater says when they are caught. Then what is it, Derek? Because these messages are pretty clear. 8 months. You have been with her for 8 months. He ran his hand through his hair, looking annoyed rather than remorseful. It just happened. It does not mean anything. It is just physical. Just physical. As if that made it better. As if betrayal in body was somehow more forgivable than betrayal of heart. But I had read those messages. I knew it was more than physical. He was emotionally involved with this woman. He shared things with her, dreams and complaints and intimate moments that should have been mine. Does she know you are married? I asked, still sitting on the floor looking up at this man who suddenly seemed like a giant looming and threatening in our sunny kitchen. Derek shifted uncomfortably. She knows. And she does not care. Look, Chloe, this does not have to change anything between us. I will end it. We can work through this. But you need to calm down and stop being hysterical. Hysterical. I was sitting quietly on the floor, speaking in barely more than a whisper, and he was calling me hysterical. That word, that diminishing, gaslighting word that men use when they want to make women feel crazy for having normal human reactions to betrayal. Over the next 2 weeks, Derek put on a show of remorse. He apologized, brought home flowers, deleted Amber's number in front of me. He promised it was over, that he would never do it again, that he chose me and our marriage. I wanted so badly to believe him. I had invested 6 years in this relationship. I loved him, or at least I loved who I thought he was. Walking away felt like admitting failure, like throwing away everything we had built. But I could not sleep. Every night I lay awake wondering if he was really next to me or if his mind was somewhere else with someone else. I checked his phone obsessively, looking for evidence that he was still in contact with her. He caught me once and exploded, accusing me of being paranoid and controlling. We fought more in those 2 weeks than we had in our entire marriage. He said I was pushing him away with my suspicion. I said he had given me every reason not to trust him. I did not tell my father. I was too ashamed, too embarrassed to admit that my marriage was falling apart. Dad had always been protective of me, and I knew what his reaction would be. I was not ready for that nuclear option. I thought Derek and I could fix this ourselves, that we just needed time to rebuild trust. I should have known better. You cannot rebuild what was never solid to begin with. It was 3 weeks after my initial discovery when I found out Derek had never stopped. I was not even snooping this time. He left his phone on the bathroom counter while he went to get the mail, and a text came through. The phone lit up and I glanced at it without thinking. Amber again. Cannot wait for tonight. Same place. My blood ran cold, then hot, then cold again. He had been lying for 3 weeks straight, looking me in the eye every day, and promising he had ended it while making plans to see her behind my back. That was when something inside me broke, or maybe it was when something inside me finally woke up. I picked up his phone and scrolled through their recent messages. They had been seeing each other the entire time. In fact, they were meeting tonight. Right now, at a bar downtown called the Griffin, 8 o'clock. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30. I did not think. I just moved. I grabbed my purse, my keys, and called a taxi. I did not have a plan. I just knew I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to confront this to stop living in this horrible limbo of lies and false hope. The Griffin was a dimly lit bar in the Pearl District, the kind of place with exposed brick and craft cocktails that cost $18 each. I arrived at 8:15 and told the taxi to wait around the corner. I walked in trying to look casual, like I belonged there. The place was moderately crowded, mostly couples in small groups. I spotted them immediately. They were in a corner booth tucked away in the shadows. Derek had his back partially to the door, but I could see her clearly. Amber. She was younger than me, maybe 26 or 27, with long red hair and the kind of effortless beauty that made my stomach turn. She was laughing at something Derek said, touching his hand across the table. They looked like any other couple on a date, comfortable and intimate, and completely unaware that Derek's wife was standing 15 feet away. I felt like I was watching my life from outside my body, like this was happening to someone else and I was just an observer. But then the rage hit. Pure white-hot rage that burned through the shock and pain. My feet were moving before my brain caught up. I walked straight to their table. Derek saw me first. His face went completely white, eyes wide with panic. Amber looked confused, glancing between us, trying to figure out who I was. "So this is Amber." My voice was steady cold. I barely recognized it as my own. Derek started to stand. "Chloe, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" I could ask you the same thing. But I already know the answer, do I not? Amber was staring at me now. Realization dawning on her face. "You are his wife." "I am, and you are the woman he has been sleeping with for the past 8 months. Nice to finally meet you." Derek put his hand on my arm. "Let us go outside and talk about this." I jerked away from his touch. "No, I think we should talk right here. I think everyone should know what kind of man you are." People were starting to stare. The bar was getting quieter as conversations stopped and attention turned to us. Amber looked uncomfortable now, shrinking back in the booth. "Derek told me you two were separated," Amber said, her voice defensive. "He said you were basically just roommates at this point." I laughed, a harsh sound with no humor in it. "Did he? We sleep in the same bed every night. We have dinner together. We are very much still married, but I guess he left out those details." Amber's face changed. She looked at Derek with something like disgust. "You lied to me." "I did not lie," Derek said quickly. "I just simplified things." "Simplified?" I shook my head. "Is that what we are calling it now?" Amber stood up from the booth. "You know what? Maybe you should let him go. He is obviously not happy with you. We are in love. He deserves to be with someone who understands him." That statement, that presumptuous, self-righteous statement from this woman who knew nothing about my marriage, about what Derek and I had been through together, about the life we had built, it snapped something inside me. I did not plan it. I did not think about it. My hand just moved fast and sharp, and I slapped her across the face. The sound echoed in the now silent bar. Amber gasped, her hand flying to her reddening cheek. She looked at me with shock and something like fear. I immediately regretted it. I am not a violent person. I had never hit anyone in my life. But the rage and pain and betrayal had taken over, and my body reacted before my mind could stop it. "You crazy psycho!" Amber screamed, stumbling back. Derek grabbed my wrist hard, his fingers digging into my skin. "What the hell is wrong with you?" The bartender was moving toward us. People were pulling out phones. I had made a scene, and now it was going to get worse. Derek dragged me toward the exit. His grip on my wrist was painful bruising. We burst out onto the sidewalk, and he did not let go. He pulled me toward the parking structure next door, away from the windows of the bar, away from witnesses. "How dare you embarrass me like that?" His voice was low and dangerous, a tone I had never heard from him before. "I embarrassed you." I tried to pull my wrist free, but his grip tightened. "You are the one cheating. You are the one who lied to both of us. You are the one who destroyed our marriage. You have been impossible to live with for weeks. You are insecure and controlling and paranoid. No wonder I went looking for someone else." His words were like acid. Each one burned, designed to hurt, to shift blame onto me. "If you were so unhappy, why did you not just leave? Why did you lie and sneak around?" "Because I was trying to spare your feelings. Because I did not want to deal with this exact situation. But you had to go snooping, and you had to show up here, and you had to assault her." "Spare my feelings. You were sleeping with another woman for 8 months. You do not get to play the hero here." Derek pushed me hard. I stumbled backward, my heel catching on the edge of the parking structure steps. I tried to catch myself, but there was nothing to grab onto. I fell backward down the concrete stairs. 5 steps. I counted them later. 5 steps between upright and broken. I felt my leg snap before I heard it. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, a white-hot agony that shot through my entire body. I screamed. I could not help it. The sound was primal, animalistic, torn from somewhere deep inside me. I was lying at the bottom of the steps, my left leg bent at an angle that legs should not bend. I could not move. I could not breathe. I could not think past the pain. Derek stood at the top of the stairs looking down at me. For a moment, just a moment, I thought he would come down. I thought he would help me. I thought some part of the man I married was still in there. But then he laughed. It was not a loud laugh. It was quiet, almost under his breath. But I heard it. A short, bitter chuckle that said more than words ever could. It said I was pathetic. It said I deserved this. It said he felt nothing for me but contempt. "Maybe that will teach you not to act like a crazy person," he said. And then he walked away. He just turned and walked away, leaving me broken and sobbing at the bottom of a concrete stairwell. I do not know how long I lay there. It felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. The pain was so intense I thought I might pass out. I hoped I would pass out. But consciousness held on, cruel and unforgiving. Eventually someone found me. A young couple returning to their car heard my whimpers and came running. The woman knelt beside me, her face filled with concern. The man was already on his phone calling 911. "What happened?" the woman asked, gently holding my hand. "I fell," I whispered. Because what else could I say? That my husband pushed me. That he laughed while I lay broken. "Did someone hurt you?" she asked clearly, seeing through my lie. I could not answer. I just cried. The ambulance ride to the hospital was a blur of sirens and pain and paramedics asking me questions I could barely process. They gave me something for the pain, but it only took the edge off. Nothing could touch the deep bone-level agony radiating from my leg. At the emergency room, they took x-rays immediately. The doctor, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a gentle voice, came to show me the results. My fibula was fractured cleanly in 2 places. I would need surgery to set it properly, metal plates and screws to hold everything together while it healed. "How did this happen?" she asked, her eyes searching my face. "I fell down some stairs." The lie felt heavy on my tongue. She did not believe me. I could see it in her expression. "Was anyone with you?" "No. I was alone." A nurse came in to prep me for surgery. She was around my age with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. When the doctor left, she leaned in close. "If someone hurt you, you can tell us. We can help you." I wanted to tell her. I wanted to scream the truth that my husband did this to me, that he pushed me and laughed while I cried. But the words would not come. I was too shocked, too traumatized, too caught in the web of shame that victims of domestic violence feel even when they know logically it is not their fault. They wheeled me into pre-op. I lay there alone, staring at the ceiling tiles, feeling like my entire life had shattered along with my leg. 6 years of marriage gone. The man I thought I knew a stranger. My body broken. My trust destroyed. That was when Derek showed up. He walked into the pre-op area like he belonged there, his face arranged in an expression of concern that looked rehearsed. A nurse tried to stop him, but he said he was my husband. They let him through. He came to my bedside and looked down at me. "Chloe, I am so sorry." Sorry. The word meant nothing coming from his mouth. I stared at him without speaking. "I lost control back there. I did not mean for you to fall. You know I would never hurt you on purpose." Still, I said nothing. Words felt impossible. "But you have to understand, you pushed me to that point. You slapped Amber. You caused a scene. You provoked me." There it was. The blame shifting back onto me. My fault for slapping her. My fault for confronting them. My fault for existing in a way that inconvenienced his affair. "We can work through this," he continued, his voice dropping lower, more urgent. "But you need to stop being so jealous and insecure. And you cannot tell your father about tonight. You know how he gets. He would blow this completely out of proportion." That sentence cut through my shock. Derek was afraid of my father. That was why he was here. Not out of concern for me, but out of concern for what Thomas might do if he found out. Derek had always been careful around my father, always polite and deferential, always trying to impress. Now I understood why. He was not just respectful. He was afraid. A nurse came in to check my vitals, and Derek immediately switched his demeanor. He became the worried husband asking about my condition, holding my hand like he actually cared. The performance was flawless. When the nurse left, he leaned down and whispered, "Remember what I said. Do not tell Thomas." Then he left, claiming he had an important meeting first thing in the morning and needed to get home to prepare. I lay there alone again, and something shifted inside me. The shock began to recede, replaced by clarity. Cold, hard clarity. This man did not love me. Maybe he never had. He had used me, manipulated me, hurt me, and now he wanted me to protect him from the consequences. But I was done protecting him. I was done lying. I was done suffering in silence. With shaking hands, I reached for my phone on the bedside table. The nurse had put it there when they brought me in. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Dad. My finger hovered over the call button. Derek's voice echoed in my head. "Do not tell your father. Do not tell Thomas." I pressed call. The phone rang once. My heart was pounding. Twice. My hands were shaking. 3 times. "Chloe." My father's voice, strong and steady and instantly concerned. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" The sound of his voice broke something open inside me. All the pain and betrayal and fear came pouring out. I started crying deep, wrenching sobs that I could not control. "Dad," I managed to choke out between sobs. "Where are you? What happened? Tell me right now." His voice shifted, became harder, more commanding. "I am at Providence Hospital, in the emergency room. Derek, I could not finish. The words caught in my throat. "I am on my way. Do not move. Stay exactly where you are." "Dad, my leg is broken." He pushed me down the stairs. He has been cheating on me for 8 months. And when I confronted him, he pushed me and I fell and my leg broke and he laughed. He laughed at me while I was lying there crying in pain. The line went silent for a long moment. When my father spoke again, his voice was quiet, controlled in a way that was somehow more terrifying than if he had yelled. "Tell me everything. Every single detail." So I did. I told him about finding the messages, about the lies, about following Derek to the bar, about slapping Amber, about being dragged to the parking structure, about the fall, about the laugh. I told him about Derek showing up at the hospital and threatening me not to tell. I told him everything I had been holding inside for weeks. When I finished, my father was quiet for another moment. Then he said, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. You did the right thing by calling me. You are my daughter, and no one hurts you and gets away with it. Do you understand?" "Yes." "Derek thinks he can do this because he thinks you are alone. He thinks he can intimidate you into silence. But he forgot one very important thing. You are my daughter, and I will end him for this." "Dad, I just want it to be over. I want to be done with him. I want a divorce, and I want him out of my life." "You will have that and more. I promise you. Now I am 20 minutes away. Do not talk to Derek if he comes back. Do not answer his calls. Save every message he sends you. Everything is evidence now. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Good girl. I love you, Chloe. And I'm so sorry you have been going through this alone. But you are not alone anymore." He hung up. I lay there clutching my phone, feeling something I had not felt in months. Hope. Not hope for my marriage that was dead and buried, but hope that I could survive this. Hope that I did not have to face Derek alone. Hope that justice, in whatever form it took, was coming. 28 minutes later, my father walked through the doors of the pre-op area. Thomas had always been an imposing man, but in that moment, he looked like a force of nature. He was still in his suit from whatever meeting or dinner he had been at, his silver hair perfectly combed, his blue eyes sharp and assessing. He took one look at me lying there with my swollen, misshapen leg, and his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. He came to my bedside and took my hand gently, so gently like I was made of glass. "My baby girl," he said softly. "I am so sorry this happened to you." I started crying again. "I should have listened to you. You never trusted him, did you?" "I wanted to be wrong," he said. "I wanted him to be worthy of you. But some men are not capable of appreciating what they have until they lose it. And Derek is about to lose everything." A doctor came in to explain the surgery, and my father asked all the right questions. Took notes, made sure I had the best orthopedic surgeon available. When they finally wheeled me to surgery, he was the last thing I saw before the anesthesia took hold. His hand in mine, his voice saying, "When you wake up, everything will be different, I promise." I believed him. When I woke up from surgery, it was past midnight. My leg was in a cast, elevated throbbing, but manageable with the pain medication dripping through my IV. My father was still there, sitting in the chair beside my bed, his phone in his hand. He looked up when he heard me stir. "Hey, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" "Tired, sore, but okay." My voice was rough from the breathing tube they had used during surgery. "The surgery went well. The doctor said you will need physical therapy, but you should heal completely in about 6 months." 6 months. Half a year to recover from what Derek did to me in 5 seconds of rage. But I nodded, grateful it was not worse. "Dad, what did you do?" I asked because I could see it in his face. The satisfied set of his jaw, the slight smile at the corner of his mouth. He had done something. "I made 3 phone calls while you were in surgery," he said, leaning back in his chair. "The first was to Patricia Chang. You remember her best family law attorney in the state. She is drawing up divorce papers and a restraining order. They will be filed first thing Monday morning." I nodded. That made sense. That was necessary. The second call was to Mark Stevenson. He is the CEO of Pacific Northwest Realty Group where Derek works. Mark and I go back 20 years. I once helped him out of a very difficult situation with a property deal gone wrong. He owes me. I told him about what Derek did to you. Mark was horrified. He said domestic violence has no place in his company. Derek will be terminated effective Monday morning. My eyes widened. He is going to fire Derek. Not just fire him. Security will escort him out. His access to all systems will be terminated. His reputation in this industry will be destroyed. No one touches my daughter and keeps their career intact. I should have felt bad about it. I should have thought it was too harsh. But I did not. I felt relief. I felt vindicated. I felt like someone was finally on my side fighting for me. The third call, my father continued, was to Henry Caldwell. He is the chairman of the Oregon Real Estate Association. I asked him to open an investigation into Derek's professional conduct. I may have mentioned some concerns about ethical violations in his dealings. Henry is very thorough. He will find things, I am sure. Derek's license to practice will be under review. It could be suspended or revoked. You did all that in a few hours? I did all that in 2 hours. Because Derek made a very stupid mistake. He hurt you and he underestimated me. Men like Derek think they can coast on charm and good looks. They think consequences are for other people. But I built my business on being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else in the room. Derek is about to learn what it means to cross someone who has real power. I squeezed my father's hand. "Thank you. You do not thank me for this. This is what fathers do. We protect our children. I should have done it sooner. I should have trusted my instincts about him years ago. I would not have listened. I needed to learn this lesson myself, as painful as it was." We sat in silence for a while. Then I asked, "What happens now?" "Now you heal. You get strong. And you let me handle Derek. You never have to see him or speak to him again if you do not want to. I will make sure of it." "What about the house?" "The house is yours. You bought it before you got married. It is in your name. Derek has no claim to it. Patricia made sure we had an ironclad prenuptial agreement before your wedding. Do you remember I insisted on it? I did remember. Derek had been insulted by it at the time, said it showed I did not trust him. I had felt guilty about asking him to sign it. Now I realized my father had seen something I could not see had protected me even when I did not want to be protected. You can stay with me while you recover, my father said. I already had your old room prepared. Everything you need. I hired a private nurse to help with physical therapy. You will have the best care. I do not want to be a burden. You could never be a burden. You are my daughter. This is what family does. I started crying again, but this time they were tears of gratitude, of relief, of feeling less alone than I had in months. My father held my hand and let me cry until I fell asleep. When I woke up the next morning, it was to a series of increasingly frantic text messages from Derek. My father must have given me my phone back while I was sleeping. The messages started around 6 in the morning. Chloe, we need to talk. Please answer your phone. I am worried about you. How is your leg? Call me when you get this. Then they shifted in tone. Your father called my boss. What did you tell him? Chloe, this is not funny. I just got a call from HR. They want to see me this morning. What did you do? Call me right now. You are ruining my life because you are vindictive and petty. I read through them without responding. Each message revealed more about Derek's character than 6 years of marriage ever had. His first concern was not my well-being, not genuine remorse. It was damage control. It was fear of consequences. My father came into the room carrying coffee in a bag from my favorite bakery. Good morning. I thought you might be hungry. Derek has been texting me. His face hardened. Do not respond. Let him panic. It is the beginning of a very bad day for him. What is happening? My father sat down in the chair beside my bed and pulled out his phone. Let me show you something. He opened his email and pulled up a message chain. It was between him and Mark Stevenson, sent at 7:30 that morning. Mark confirmed that Derek had been called into a meeting at 8 o'clock. The termination would happen then. It was now 8:45. As if on cue, my phone rang. Derek's name flashed on the screen. My father looked at me and raised an eyebrow. Do you want to talk to him? No, but I want to know what he has to say. I put the phone on speaker and answered. Chloe, thank God. I have been trying to reach you all morning. Derek's voice was strained, panicked. Something crazy is happening. I just got fired. I know. You know. What do you mean, you know? Did you have something to do with this? I told my father what you did to me. He made some calls. Some calls, Chloe, I just lost my job. Do you understand what that means? I have worked for that company for 5 years. I have clients' deals in progress. They escorted me out like a criminal. Security literally walked me to the parking lot. You should have thought about that before you pushed me down the stairs and broke my leg. That was an accident. You know it was an accident. You are blowing this completely out of proportion. An accident. My voice was flat. You pushed me. You laughed while I lay there screaming in pain. You left me there alone. That was not an accident. That was assault. If you do not fix this, if you do not call your father and tell him to back off, I will lose everything. Good. There was a long silence. Then Derek's voice came back lower, more dangerous. You vindictive witch. I gave you 6 years of my life. And you spent 8 months of it sleeping with someone else. You abused me. You broke my leg. You destroyed our marriage. This is on you, Derek. All of it. I will fight the divorce. I will make this as painful as possible for you. No, you will not. Because my father has lawyers who will bury you. You will sign the papers, you will walk away, and you will never contact me again. Or things will get much worse for you. Worse? What could be worse? My father has friends everywhere. In real estate, in business, in places you do not even know about. He could destroy you completely if he wanted to. Right now, he's being merciful. Do not test him. Derek hung up without another word. I looked at my father, who was smiling slightly. "Well done," he said. "I am proud of you." Over the next several hours, the dominoes continued to fall. Derek's professional email account was deactivated. His clients were reassigned to other agents. His reputation in the tight-knit Portland real estate community was in tatters. By lunchtime, 3 of his former colleagues had called my father to express their support and to distance themselves from Derek. But my father was not done. At 2 in the afternoon, Henry Caldwell called. The Real Estate Association had launched a formal investigation into Derek's licensing. There were questions about potential ethical violations, undisclosed conflicts of interest, improper dealings, things that my father had not even mentioned to me because he had people doing deep dives into Derek's professional life. "They are going to find things," my father said calmly. "Men who cut corners in one area of their lives tend to cut corners everywhere." Derek was sloppy. He thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. By evening, Derek's real estate license was suspended pending investigation. He would not be able to practice in Oregon for at least 6 months, possibly longer. And then there was Amber. Apparently, after the scene at the bar, Amber wanted nothing to do with Derek. She blocked his number, blocked him on social media, told friends she had been lied to and manipulated. She wanted to make it clear she was a victim too, that she had not known Derek was still living with his wife, still pretending to have a marriage. Whether that was true or not, I did not care. I just felt a grim satisfaction that Derek was losing everything, including the woman he had destroyed his marriage for. The restraining order was filed on Monday. Derek was served at his parents' house, where he had apparently gone to stay after being locked out of our home. My father had hired a locksmith to change all the locks over the weekend. Derek's belongings were packed in boxes and left on the front porch. He was not allowed within 500 feet of me or my property. 2 weeks after the incident, we had our court hearing. I was still in a wheelchair, my leg in a cast, but my father pushed me into the courtroom with his head held high. Derek sat on the other side with a public defender he had scraped together money for. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, suit wrinkled. He had lost weight. The judge was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. Derek's lawyer tried to argue that the restraining order was excessive, that this was a one-time incident blown out of proportion by an angry spouse seeking revenge. My lawyer Patricia calmly presented the medical records, photographs of my injuries, the police report filed by the couple who found me, and witness statements from people at the bar who saw Derek dragging me out. She painted a picture of escalating emotional abuse, infidelity, and finally physical violence. The judge granted the restraining order without hesitation. Derek was ordered to stay 500 feet away from me at all times. If he violated it even once, he would be arrested. As we left the courtroom, Derek tried to approach me. Security immediately stepped in, but he called out, "Chloe, please. I am sorry. I am living with my parents. I cannot find work. You have destroyed my life." I stopped my wheelchair and turned to look at him. My father's hand was on my shoulder, but I shook my head slightly. I needed to do this. "You destroyed your own life, Derek. You made every single choice that led you here. You chose to cheat. You chose to lie. You chose to push me down those stairs. And you chose to laugh at me while I lay there in pain. I did not do this to you. You did this to yourself. And frankly, you are getting off easy. Because if it was up to me, you would be in prison right now." I turned my wheelchair around and let my father push me away. That was the last time I ever spoke to Derek. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Because of the prenup, the division of assets was straightforward. I kept the house, my savings, my car. Derek got nothing except his personal belongings and the knowledge that he had thrown away a good woman for a fleeting affair. His career never recovered. The ethics investigation found multiple violations, and his license was revoked for 2 years. By the time he could practice again, his reputation was so damaged that no respectable firm would hire him. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he moved to Arizona to try to start over. I did not care enough to follow up on whether he succeeded. Recovery was long and painful both physically and emotionally. I spent the first month at my father's house relearning how to walk with crutches, then a cane, then finally on my own. Physical therapy was excruciating, pushing my healing leg to do things it was not ready to do, building strength back from nothing. But the emotional recovery was harder. I had to process 6 years of my life that now felt like a lie. I had to accept that the man I loved had never truly existed, that I had been in love with a facade, a performance. I had to learn to trust my own judgment again, to not second-guess every instinct and feeling. My father was there for all of it. He came to every physical therapy appointment, brought me books and movies when I was bored, sat with me on the bad days, when the pain or the grief was overwhelming. We talked about my mother during those months, about how she would have handled this, what advice she would have given. I realized that I'd been trying so hard to create the perfect family, the perfect marriage, because I missed having that complete family I lost when Mom died. I was trying to fill a void that Derek could never fill. I started seeing a therapist specializing in trauma and domestic violence. At first, I resisted the label. Domestic violence felt like something that happened to other people, not to educated, financially stable women like me. But my therapist helped me understand that abuse does not discriminate. It happens in all communities, all economic levels, all types of relationships. What mattered was not how it started, but how I healed from it. I joined a support group for survivors. Sitting in a circle with other women, some with stories far worse than mine, others eerily similar, I realized I was not alone. There was something powerful about sharing our experiences, about being believed and supported without judgment. These women understood in a way that well-meaning friends could not. 6 months after the incident, I went back to work part-time. My boss had been incredibly understanding, giving me all the time I needed. But I was ready to reclaim that part of my life, to remember who I was beyond someone's wife, beyond a victim. I was a designer. I created beautiful spaces. I had skills and talents that had nothing to do with Derek. My first project back was a complete redesign of my own home. I repainted every room, got rid of furniture we had bought together, changed the entire aesthetic. I turned the master bedroom into my personal sanctuary, all soft blues and natural light. I transformed the spare room into a home office with built-in bookshelves and a huge desk. I planted a garden in the backyard, something I had always wanted but Derek said would be too much maintenance. With each change, I felt lighter. The house stopped being the place where my marriage died and became my space, my home filled with only what I loved. I did not date. I was not ready, and I did not know when I would be. But I built a life that did not have a void where a partner should be. I had my work, my father, my friends, my home, my therapy. I was whole on my own. Someday, maybe, I would want to share my life with someone again. But it would be on my terms, with someone who truly saw me, who valued me, who would never make me feel small or broken or unworthy. A year after that night in the parking structure, I stood in my living room looking around at everything I had built. The afternoon sun was streaming through the windows I had chosen, bouncing off the cream-colored walls I had painted, highlighting the art I had carefully selected. This was mine. All mine. Not ours. Mine. My father came over that evening for dinner, as he did most Sundays. We ate the pasta I had made from scratch, drank wine from the vineyard we had visited together last month, talked about work and books and plans for the holidays. As he was leaving, he hugged me at the door. "You know what I am most proud of?" he asked. "What?" "How strong you have become. You were always strong, but now you know it. That bastard tried to break you, and instead you built yourself into something better than you were before. That takes courage." "I learned from the best," I said, squeezing him tight. After he left, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the sun set behind the mountains. I thought about Derek briefly for the first time in weeks. I wondered if he ever thought about that night, if he regretted his choices, if he understood the magnitude of what he destroyed. But those thoughts did not hurt anymore. They were just curiosity, distant and academic. I thought about Amber too, the woman I slapped in a moment of rage. I was not proud of that moment, but I understood it. I forgave myself for it. She was a symptom, not the disease. Derek would have found someone else if not her. The problem was never the other woman. It was the man I married. But mostly I thought about myself. About Chloe at 31 standing in that bar watching her husband with another woman feeling her world crumble. And Chloe at 32 sitting on her porch leg, healed heart healing, looking at a future that was scary and uncertain, but also full of possibility. I learned that you cannot change someone who does not want to change. No amount of love, patience, or second chances will transform a person who is fundamentally unwilling to do the work. Derek did not want to be a good husband. He wanted the appearance of being a good husband while doing whatever he pleased. I learned that love should never hurt. Real love does not make you question your worth or walk on eggshells or accept crumbs. Real love is safe. It is honest. It is kind. I learned that asking for help is not weakness. Calling my father that night, admitting I could not handle it alone, letting him fight for me when I was too broken to fight for myself, that was one of the strongest things I ever did. And I learned that rock bottom, devastating as it is, can also be a foundation. You cannot build something new while clinging to something broken. Sometimes things have to fall apart completely before you can rebuild them into something better. I finished my tea as the last light faded from the sky. Inside my house, warm and welcoming my space alone, I felt something I had not felt in over a year. Peace. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you thought you would spend your life with? Have you ever had to choose yourself over someone else's comfort? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who is struggling in a relationship that makes them feel small, please share this video. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we deserve better, that we are strong enough to walk away, that there is life and happiness and peace on the other side of endings. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there feel less alone. Take care of yourselves. You are worth it.